What's going on, everybody? It's Ron Brown, LMT, the People's Fitness Professional, alongside my co-host
Mikey Fever.
How you doing, yo? What was that, yo?
Oh, that's my bad. I just been running around, man, and taking care of family and doing the usual, man.
Yeah, me too, man. Same here, yo. What's going on, everybody in the on the check-in? Whoever's in the chat, thank you for viewing us this evening. I really appreciate you. We got Pan African diplomacy tonight.
Yes.
with the Black Round Table, and we got Mag, we got Vic, and Dwayne. Now we know Mag and we know Vic. I personally don't know Dwayne. The last podcast you guys done with Dwayne, it was with just Mikey Fever and the rest of the brothers. I wasn't there, so I don't know if Mike did the traditional NYP.
Introduction. Oh yeah, I did definitely. Dwayne, brother sharp, brother believes from Guyana. He came through a lot of information. Brother's on point. He's on code, straight up G code on that table with the brothers, man. He brought a lot of information. You know what I'm saying? Just like the brother Vic and Mag, man. He's vital. The brothers, he's proficient. He's very insightful, man.
Indeed, the brother actually has a few books out. I'm sure he'll talk to us about that. So if people want to go, look him up, check him out.
Yeah, all my books are available through Amazon for anyone who's interested.
Okay, so you're from Guyana.
Yeah.
All right, so Guyana's history is like a melting pot, almost like a mixture of different cultures, right? So you would say Indian, African, and what else?
Indian, African, Chinese, some Portuguese influence, obviously the Amerindian, the local people who were there before, and the Dutch, British colonial influence.
Yeah, so that's a lot. So your mom, what's her side? Like, would your mom's side be more Indian African or?
Yeah, her side is Indian African. My dad's side is African, Chinese, some Amerindian, some Portuguese, some British.
Gotcha. All right.
So now, the whole history of the country is in my DNA, is what I like to tell people.
Gotcha.
Wow.
And so the way you grew up, the way you were taught that you were a black man?
Yeah, so here's the interesting thing, because my mom came up in Guyana during the 1970s Black Power movement, and she was involved in the Pan-African movement. So, for those who are familiar with Walter Rani, the author of How Europe Underdeveloped Africa, she was involved in his political party and used to go to his rallies.
Okay.
I acknowledged that book years ago.
All right, that's peace. Now, what state did you grow up in?
Florida.
All right. So what was your upbringing? Like, some people come from Pan-African background, some people come from a 5% background, some people come from a more, activist-based type of background, like the NCAA. What did I say that right?
NAACP.
NAACP.
You talking about basketball? Bro.
My bad.
You good.
I don't even watch basketball, but yeah, go ahead. NCAACP, right?
Yeah, NAACP.
So people have that background as well, political background. So what is your background more like?
I would say my background is multiple things. So I could start with the fact that my mom is Catholic, so we came up in the Catholic church, and that was actually profound in terms of my development and influence, because what I took out of that Catholic upbringing was a sense of commitment to service to other people, a sense of standing up for the oppressed. So I got a lot of that social justice type of upbringing from the Catholic Church. But it was varied as well, because like I said, my mom was part of the Black Power movement. So growing up with her, I'd hear stories about what it's like, for her in Guyana, not just going to Walter Rani's meetings, but meeting with the Rastafarians in Guyana, having the conversations with them, the type of knowledge they instilled in her. And my dad also played a role in that development as well. So I'll never forget, I was 16 the first time he sat me down, and we had a conversation about the 1960s civil rights movement here in the United States. And at 16, he bought me a copy of Malcolm X Speaks. So, he had me reading Malcolm X at 16, 17. So, by the time I became an adult, I, had that Catholic influence. I had the influence from the 1960s Black Power civil rights movement that my dad had introduced me to, and from reading Malcolm X, obviously he comes off the Nation of Islam, so I was studying Malcolm's influences, the Rastafarian influence. So I came up with Bob Marley. My mom was a big funk fan as well, so she introduced me to Earth, Wind, and Fire and the type of consciousness in their movement. So part of why I developed the Pan-African consciousness I have is because I was getting this consciousness from all kinds of different sources, from the United States, from the Caribbean. So, for me coming up, it was very easy to make that connection between our people in the Caribbean and our people in the United States, because what I realized at an early age is when we were going through our Black Power movement in the 60s and 70s in the Caribbean, trying to find that consciousness, trying to orientate ourselves in a particular way, our people in the States were doing the same thing with Black Power in the 60s and 70s. So I was getting both of those influences growing up, and that really helped to shape my Pan-African consciousness.
Nice, well put. So now we know your history a little bit. Now, growing up in Florida, what was that like? Growing up in Florida, coming from a pretty active Black Pan-African family, what was that like growing up in Florida? What part of Florida, actually?
Orlando.
Okay. All right. So what was it like growing up there?
It was fairly interesting because, like I said, my mom, coming from a Catholic background, put me in a Catholic school. So you can imagine that Catholic education is very Eurocentric. So, and again, this also helped to shape my my consciousness coming up, that a lot of what I ended up doing was just rebelling against the type of education that I was getting. And, as I said, my mom is Catholic, so she's thinking she's putting me in the institution for the religious values, and I was getting those values. She wasn't thinking about the Eurocentric aspect of the education. So she wasn't thinking about the fact that when you go to a white, predominantly white school, Jesus is white, God is white, everything in that school is white. So, for me, part of that upbringing was every day I'm going to school and I'm being indoctrinated. Obviously, I wasn't thinking about this at the time as a child. I didn't realize the level to which I was being indoctrinated, but eventually it's something that I became aware of and conscious of, the fact that, as I'm going through this institution, I'm being indoctrinated with a type of Eurocentric education. And, the fascinating thing is it gave me a different insight coming up in that type of environment, because now I see how the doctrine of white supremacy is actually being pushed in white schools on white children. Because, for me as a Black student in this class, obviously I'm being indoctrinated from a white supremacist standpoint. And the objective is to make me think I come from a people with no history, no culture, no civilization. And I start thinking, but well, what does this do to the white children who are being pushed to the same propaganda? What it instills in them is the sense of superiority. It makes them feel like they're the center of the universe, they're the center of history, they're the center of culture and civilization. So not only was I rebelling against the indoctrination, but also gave me some type of insight into why it is that white people end up thinking the way that they do, because many of them are actually indoctrinated to see themselves as being the centers of everything.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
Exactly.
So now you went to school. You went to university, right?
Yeah.
And what did you major?
Liberal arts. So I was studying a little bit of everything, a little bit of history, political science, and psychology.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And of course, you finish.
Yeah, finished, and I went on to law school, and I'll be doing my graduation in a few days.
Oh, nice!
Congratulations, bro.
Congratulations, man.
Salute, my brother. Salute that Black mind.
Yeah, thank you.
How old are you, brother?
Yeah, 34 next month.
Young man. Okay. Good.
That's
Well,
deep.
at 33, you start moving. That's when the Black man get in his God force. Power start hitting you hard. That's why it's 33 degrees to get to a certain level. Because water transforms from a solid to a liquid, which is intuitive, to a gas, which is supreme intelligence. So the 30s, these next few years, Boo, coming up in for you, man, it's gonna be critical. You can make a real impression. Sock it to them, bro.
Understanding is the best part.
You working all sides of it. and I could tell people like you. So you can slide in like the smoke that sat by the door.
Facts.
Well,
Classic.
what was funny about that, the first time I read that book, I saw a lot of myself, my upbringing in that story.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Always being in those white spaces coming up in school, I definitely related to that book.
Yeah.
Right.
Mhm.
So now, have you been active in the community yourself? Like, have you been, a part of like different groups or anything like that?
Yeah, a lot of work. Some in Orlando, I've been part of different organizations. One of them was Speak Up Florida, which was part of the movement to end the new Jim Crow. I was part of an effort locally as well. We got a school renamed. It was a school named after Stonewall Jackson, and we got it named in honor of Roberto Clemente. So I've done local work here. I've done international work as a Pan-Africanist as well, particularly for the last several years. I've been involved in the struggle in Togo because, for those who aren't familiar, since the 1960s, Togo has been run by a single family, the Nasembe family. So, the past few years, there's been a very strong movement to overthrow the dictatorship in Togo because, and part of the problem too is that dictatorship has been supported by France for several decades. So in Togo, there's definitely an anti-colonial revolutionary struggle that's being waged, and I've been part of that struggle. So I've done work in Togo, done work in the Caribbean as well with different organizations in the Caribbean, local work. So, one thing about me, when I tell people I'm a Pan-Africanist, that's something that I'm actually serious and committed to. So for me, when you say you're a Pan-Africanist, you have to be thinking internationally, and that means you have to be doing this work on an international level. So that's the standard of I was held myself to, making sure that I'm doing this work not only locally but globally.
I like that, man.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk.
Yeah, man.
That's beautiful, man.
Yes, sir.
I tell you that the struggle has no barriers, man. This is why I'm completely against diaspora wars, conflicts of FBA versus continental African versus Caribbean brothers, because we all endured the same hell. You know what I'm saying? Same hell, different devils.
Yeah, but I
We'll
mean,
never know if we don't exchange notes. If we don't sit down and exchange notes.
yeah, but for me too, it's personal in the sense that coming from my mom's side, I have family roots in Suriname. So the thing about us, Black people in the diaspora, when you check your roots, you might be born in one country, but you might have roots somewhere else. For example,
That's
Malcolm
right.
mom being from Grenada. So to me, that's why the diaspora wars never made any sense, because when you start checking your roots, you might find you might be from this one country, but you might have roots somewhere else. Particularly when we go back to slavery, a lot of those ships came to the Caribbean islands before going to the States. So your ancestors' first stop when we came to this part of the world could have been in the Caribbean islands before you came to the States. So really the only difference between somebody that's born in the Caribbean and somebody that's born in the States is where those ships dropped us off.
Exactly. And to add on to that too, not all Africans actually came from Africa. Like they think the transatlantic, because you got to remember the fall of Grenada when we was in Spain as Moors.
Indeed. Yep.
Europe. So
Came right from Europe here.
yeah, many of them. So many will not know that.
I want to say something. A thought just came to me, man. I just want to share this and ask you brothers what you think. Now, I'm gonna just go back to when I started learning about our people and how we got in this condition. The first real facts I got was 120. And really, I'm gonna be honest with people, I thought we all came before the boat. Then I had to add on, and I really found out we've been all over the planet Earth already anyway.
Indeed.
So I don't want Pan-Africanism to turn into, or not Pan-Africanism itself, but our struggle and our battle to be whether or not what they did to us. More than how our unity could stop what's being done to us. Because the shit that they did to Aboriginals that was already here was just as bad and worse. But nobody ever discusses that. Because everybody didn't come over here in 1555. Not when I arrived. I was already here. Thoroughbred, mastered this part.
Indeed.
Now my mama's part, my mother's side was from here. My daddy's side was from the boat. So I'm gonna keep it 100. I was dealing with both sides, but what I'm saying is, some countries slaves were taken to around the planet, right? And and even in Europe and Russia, they had indentured servants and stuff. So it happened globally, but everybody didn't. The shit that I want to focus on is our nobility, man. Like they talk about the Moors, they travel the world and do all this stuff, and then all these cats talking about it, but then when they talking about it, it's starting in Europe. I'm like, wait a minute, man.
Mhm.
That don't add up. We need to really, our global unity is really going to be based on our nobility, our diplomacy, the spiritual aspects of what it means to call ourselves these things, man. The real Moors were gods who navigated and they were like, people couldn't wait for them to come because they had all the best of everything. Like Master Fard Muhammad, silks and robes, and people couldn't wait for them to come, but they were navigators, astrologers, teachers, healers, and they were the positive parts. They weren't them niggas in Europe who ended up with a white woman. Spanish light-skinned weirdo shit we dealing with now. Light bright thinking right ass niggas. So
Right.
I'm just saying we gotta if we put a little more emphasis on our nobility, man, and make ourselves the best version that we could possibly be, it's a better the art of war is a win without fighting, man. Instead of exhausting all your shit. I'm oldest here. I'm almost 60. I'm gonna say if I was your age and knew what I knew at your age, because the way it's going now at my age, that's why I'm saying this. If we focus on the best part, we can fix it, man. Because we recognize that we keep identifying. We got a million books, a billion people talking about it, but nobody's really talking about what's the most effective way it means to fix it.
That's a fact.
And that's the problem, is that we can fix it. You know, if we just try a little harder, man. We gotta try. Because there ain't no mystery God that brought us to this show, to this time, in this place, in this space.
My question to you is, what do we have to fix?
Well, we complain and we focus on the problem. That's what needs to be fixed, and not we don't focus on the solution. You can't change their shit, man. It's his shit. Niggas keep complaining about somebody else's shit. The cheat code. Let's have some real talk. You work for a non-motherfucker, it's his shit, man. How you gonna go there and be mad because he won't run his shit how you want him to run his shit? You should get your own shit and run your shit.
That's a fact.
You can't win no political, black nationalists, Pan-Africanists, gods and earths, Masonic, weirdo nigga shit on the devil. It's slickology, it's technology, it's got your slickology beat already. The only way the solution is to fix it, is you have to fix it, man.
You have to fix it by doing for self.
We got to come clean. Start making our word our bond to all these principles that our ancestors left us. We talk good, but we don't really do it. We don't support each other. We don't love each other. All the podcasts I see, man, people strong and talking strong and hard. I'm like, cool, but I don't really see it. I've traveled all over, not just in the States, out of the States too. When I went into where he from, Belize, it was funny style. Niggas was trying to play us funny, me and my wife. Now, most people bowed down. We were like royalty, but it was really funny style in a sense, because motherfuckers was they had their hand out and they had unrealistic expectations. So, I don't know, man. What we gotta do is we gotta start doing what the Moors did: trade, barter. Be self-sufficient. Stop faking the funk like you're more, but you ain't got a business or a skill. You work for the devil. That's it.
I want to add on to what you said too, is that
Check.
with our people, we tend to be stuck fighting over school of thoughts and ideologies. You understand? My lessons are better than yours. My idea would be better than yours. All right, then. Yeah, and y'all both stuck in the same hell. I'm gonna keep repeating that. Y'all both in the same trap, not progressing. We could have all this information, but what are we doing with it?
Well, I want to. Pardon me. What I'm. Oh, did you finish your thought, bro?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So what I think is that we keep, just like the brother said, Vic said, we keep talking about the problem. We already know what the problem is. What is the solution? Now, there's so many problems. We need so many solutions to so many different things. Now,
let me intervene right there. I'm not saying you're wrong, but if you fix the main problem, everything else comes into rotation. That's how energy, that's how universal law work, bruh. That's who we are. That's the part we're not adding to our movement, our struggle, that who we really are. Put that force and shit in effect on their ass, bruh. I do it all the time. When they pull up on me, the police pull me over, I have any type of contact with law enforcement. Now, back in the day, they had me jacked. I was a dumbass G, a whole G, because I thought I knew it all. I was in the streets, and the gangster fly shit, and it landed me in the bang. But I transformed into the Son of Man, the Supreme Being. And so now when they come in contact with me and they get my license and they say they run Allah, it comes back and says, no arrests, no distress.
right.
Because of the work I put in. White people will come clean if we come clean. That's the part that we don't never talk about.
All right, so I want to kind of bring that in, okay? Because you said a lot, right? But you said that what you said, I agree with, right? That main thing, if we could fix that one thing, we could fix a lot. So what would that one thing be?
Trust and being unconditional. Stop putting something to it. Just do it because we're supposed to do it, not because we have unrealistic expectations of what we're gonna get in return. That's the law of one, Allah. All one. It means that Allah is unconditional, selflessness. It's not a condition. Can't be partners in all these ciphers based on conditions. That's not God. That's not real. That's whole G. Round table thoroughbred is unconditional. We got to do it just because it's the right thing to do, man, and not because we're getting something out of it. Then things start fixing them. So I'm telling you what I know by knowing the gods that I know for 30, 40 years, and we do it. We've done so much with so little that we could just about do anything with nothing because we did the most important thing. We became brothers, and we stopped putting conditions on it. We really love each other and do right, man. By right, we can fix it. It's real simple.
All right, now I hear you, right? That's one side. The way I see it is we need to control our own education. I think that is the key. That is paramount. I think if we could do that one thing and control our own education, I think that could fix a lot more other things, right? Because let's say if the Black Roundtable had their own school system that's apart from the way the American school system has everything structured to where you have to basically do everything you gotta follow their protocol if you want to have a school, right? I think we gotta kind of like separate from that, like
pardon self, God. School is not what you get from somebody else. Education, man. Education is drawing them up into the oneness of themselves, bruh. We got a school. The school is the round table because we're drawing it up. We're gonna educate our babies. We do that anyway. If you God, you gotta give them game. You gotta give them the G code, and you gotta give them the devil's shit too, man. The G code is a thoroughbred gorilla nigga who keeps it real in the basic fundamentals of this shit. So you gotta lace them with both sides. I don't want my sons to be some weird ass holy roller weirdo up balanced niggas, man. They need the G code to operate, be effective in this demonic, dark, funny style shit. Ain't no laws in war. Ain't no rules. Niggas be saying, you got a nigga, ain't no law or rule when you in war, man. Everything go.
Let's I want to move forward with the questions. So let's go with the questions, right? Because we have 5 questions here. Right. So now the first question is, what are the first steps to remove the invisible lines of the Berlin Conference, which are designed to divide us into controllable cults and sections?
Pardon self, that's from the last show. We on number 5.
Oh,
The
number
power.
5. My bad. Pardon me.
Yeah.
Pardon me. What
Yeah.
are pardon me? What are the African common denominators among Africa's many cultures? Common denominators which do not have colonial roots and demonstrate a continuity and a
Continuity.
oneness,
Yeah.
continuity
Yes, sir.
and a oneness within African culture.
So let me just say today's degree is the 14th, and that represents in nation, now nation or in. So knowledge and culture shows you, if you knowledge the culture of each nation, it allows you to be able to see this nation clearly. But if you don't knowledge the culture of the different nations that make up our people, the ethnicities, the history, it's difficult for you to be able to, make a good bond with them. If you might have just saw how the television represented these folks, who knows how? You know how the devil misrepresent people, but if you take out the time to knowledge these culture that's amongst our what I call our internationality, it'd be easy for you to deal with these people. And if they take out the time to knowledge our culture as well. So I see that.
Respect right there.
Just like that brother just said, he knowledge his culture from America and from the Caribbean.
So he can add on some. He can intelligently engage. But if all you've heard is lies about a people and all they heard about is lies about you, that's an 85% conversation. I'd rather have a 5% conversation like what we have, and people that are informed and people that have culture. Because they have culture, they have refinement. That's a much better conversation.
That's a fact. I'm glad you mentioned that. And just like Brother Dwayne mentioned, my family, as I said before, are from Haiti. And one thing my pops always told me when he came to this country, he always told me to learn the history of where you live at, the terrain, and I'm going to teach you your history, where your family comes from. And he always said, you will not see any difference just in language. The struggle's the same, just difference in language. But these are your brothers, the same plight you face, the same struggles you face, they face as well. And I seen it all around because, it's a human thing. It's a social thing. You have criminality, you have poverty, you have lack of education, lack of resources. This is a human condition, but it's a human condition imposed by imperialists. But you will know that people of African descent are one, just different landmass.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we strive for the
we
same
already
thing.
know we won. We're just distrustful and selfish. We don't want to deal with each other unconditioned. We keep putting a condition on it.
Of course, that's the problem. This is why I welcome anyone. I just don't deal with, like you said, I'm with Vic. I don't just deal with the weirdo stuff. You get what I'm saying? I don't deal with the weirdos.
Yes.
So like the brother Moorish Science Temple of America, he's right now, to me, he's spot on. He's spot on. Fixing the problem, the solutions, the problems start here, go here. These are all like the main points.
Yeah, exactly.
These are all the main points. So now you're saying the common denominator is the European or the white man, right?
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say he's intelligent enough to knowledge all the different cultures that exist amongst us and use it to his advantage. I think we could learn from him to knowledge all the different cultures, and
you got some game for your ass.
And you can see the oneness, Yeah, instead of it being Crip versus Blood and East versus West and nice, observe the whole thing and take the best parts of all of it, and then now we got something.
That's the worst part. That's the problem, period. I figured it out a little while in my 30s. But man, you got to be unconditional. And you got to do it just because it's the right thing to do. And then some things I can't explain it to you because it's an experience, and all you brothers that are young, you're going to involve into it. It's mathematics. But I'm almost quality side for 60, man. And you got some stuff backing you up, man. It ain't as hard as people think it is, bruh. It's a lot more to this than we got a galactic federation, bruh. I'm not going to go into that right now. It's way we laced. Since we gotta have poised and intelligent enough to come with solutions. If we're gonna check the devil, the white man, our little badass kid, make him come clean. To me, all this shit is just talk. We ain't gonna go check the devil, make him come clean. Get zooted and booted for real shit, saluted, and make him come clean. That's the G code, man. That's what the Moors did. They went to white people, they landed on their shit, and made them come clean. Took over.
Yo, Vic, I agree with what you're saying. Just like the Morris brother said in the comments, I'm all for that because this is something that Brother Ron and I spoke about that with Project PAR. I always say we got to have our own educational systems, but first we got to have dialogue. We cannot speak about having, nationhood and unity without communication, respect, trust. You know what I'm saying? We got to have the communication, respect, trust, CRT. We got to do that within ourselves, and then from there, we could take brothers with their talent that has talent and, whatever it is from mathematics to building, medical, and we could establish our own institutions. You understand? And that's how it will work.
Yeah.
Work on our families. Man. Yeah, we got to work on our families. And to add on to weird stuff is that we got to basically police our own because we could easily say it's the white man's fault. To me, that's an old song we've been singing for a while. We know what they have done.
The problem,
because just like they have so-called white devils, we have black devils as well amongst our own. You understand? And my thing is integrity. Our people need to have more integrity and be realistic.
Indeed. Let's go to the next question. The next question is 6. Why do so many so-called African leaders and governments celebrate individualism rather than a continental collectivism? What monetary benefits come with this?
Well, I think that one, it kind of applies to what we're looking at Burkina Faso, because okay, let's just think about this real quick. If you look all throughout the continent, particularly, you kind of see the same problem. Okay. Now, some of the leaders that are in power now will tell you, oh, this takes more than a little bit of time to fix. That's the story they say, right? It doesn't change overnight. Okay, but in Burkina Faso, this brother is like the same age as Dwayne here. Okay, Mr. Traore, he's the same age as Dwayne. He flipped the shit in 3 years? So how do these other countries explain?
That's a good point.
Just saying, man. These people have been in power way longer than him, and they haven't had 1/10 of the success that he had in 3 years, in 20 years. So, there has to be some type of complacency between these people who are running these governments and the people that's running them. That's what I'm saying. Because he showed us it can happen in 3 years. He didn't just fix one part of the nation. He fixed the mining situation, the living situation, the food growing situation. He cut the officers and the politicians and the parliamentarians' salary to add on to the people. So it don't take that long. It just take the willingness.
God, what did you tell me the main thing he did?
Which one?
Check the cracker out.
Oh yeah, that was the first.
That's the main thing. He checked the devil.
Yeah. Told him to beat it. And
beat it. Beat it.
He had to beat it.
Ran the devil from amongst them. Or took the devil off this planet, off his land. We don't say we acknowledge these lessons. We really need to acknowledge them, man.
Right. Now, what were you saying, Mag? You were going somewhere with that?
No, I was saying, so when we talk about people that are getting incentives, monetary incentives to be divided, you can look kind of at the continent and see it's not that they're stuck in a situation, because the brother showed us in 3 years. Look at all the progress he's made. I mean, against unsurmountable odds, man. France said they was going to do this. ECOWAS said they was going to do this. America said they was going to do this, but he still got his people together and moved forward and kept moving forward because he had the willingness and he did away with the fear. And, let's keep it a buck. they tried a lot of stuff there and it didn't work. So they said, look, we got to put this man out of our business and we got to handle our business. And look where they at.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I'm sure they had a whole lot of stuff they disagreed on, but they still mashed out on what they did agree on.
Yeah, but you know what's
that's
so
I
deep
see.
about that situation, though. You know, a few days ago, there was a demonstration going on in Burkina Faso in support of the leader there, and one of the demonstrators said that they remembered what happened to Thomas Sankara, and they're not about to let that happen again. So what we're seeing in Burkina Faso is the sense of the people know their history. They remember what happened in the 1980s when Thomas Sankara was the president, and they're not about to let that history repeat itself. So we see that power in being able to go back into our history and to take the lessons from the history and to correct the mistakes that we made in the past. So they recognize that one of the mistakes they made with Thomas Sankara is that they didn't do enough to protect him. And we see that throughout our history. I mean, think about how many great leaders we've had that have been assassinated, and we have to start asking, you know, should we have been doing more to protect these leaders? And
exactly.
Good point.
Your own military. You have no. You have no
security and first world, first mind. Good, you're the ideal.
Yeah,
all right. Now let's go to Mike. You got the seven question.
Yeah, definitely. What role does religion play within the division today and yesterday? Are there religions which are continental and push back and oppose the perceived division?
Man, I would say that's kind of one of the hidden hands that keeps the continent and us on a global level divided. And we don't necessarily consider that like we used to. But I would say that's one of the primary things, particularly on the continent, because that's the one thing that's in all these places is a church or a mosque. And what they both have done have kind of shitted on the original people's culture and took the people away from their culture and made it to where you had to pick either your indigenous culture or the religion in most of these places. In fact, you know, if we look at the Catholic Church, that's been just watch Nollywood. Watch how it's always the natural voodoo person against the Catholic priest, and they're going head to head, and they're making a natural voodoo, you know, culture of this person look evil and bad.
Right.
Yeah,
I always work with the voodoo cultures, man. Anyway, when I watch the movies,
I had to stop watching it because I was like, man, it's like, okay, this guy didn't cast a spell on the preacher's wife and stuff, and I'm like, man, that ain't cool, man. Yeah, I mean, it was some real disrespectful stuff, man. And I've just noticed that a lot of people who I meet from back home, check it out now. When you meet somebody from Africa, they'll be like a Holy Ghost, real Jesus type person, man. And they won't be able to tell you nothing about their culture, man. So there's something going on there. If you look, you know, if you kind of pull back the shade, religion is kind of.
Can I add on to that, Lord?
Wait,
come on.
I want to add on to what you said, bro.
Hold on, Vic. One second. Dwayne had something to say. He was just waiting there. What you got?
Yes, I was just going to add on, you know, what's so deep about that is when you talk to a lot of, you know, brothers and sisters from the continent, you know, Christian and Muslim, they can't tell you much about the religion, you know, if we're being honest, because I know, you know, I have a lot of friends who come from Islamic background. How it is in the continent is you're forced to memorize the Quran in Arabic, but you can't speak Arabic, so you don't even know what it is you're reading. And it's the same thing with the Bible. You know, a lot of our people go to churches where the preacher is not even encouraging them to read the Bible because the preacher is hoping they don't read the Bible so that the preacher could then use religion to manipulate them. What we have to look at with these religions is not just the conflict between, you know, the Abrahamic religions and the African cultures, but the fact that a lot of people who practice these religions don't really know anything about these religions. And the final point I'll make on this is, you know, if you really understood your religion as a Christian or Muslim, there shouldn't be any conflict. You know, the Bible and the Quran both tells you can't impose your religion on another people.
Well, the reason why religion was created was to divide people. It wasn't created to unite people. That's why how they use religion, to make you rely on something else. Well, who we are naturally, that's what they took us away from. Their whole objective with the religion and indoctrination was to take you away from your source and make you feel ashamed of your voodoo power, your ability when you was a little kid and you used to have invisible friends and shit, your ability, your supernatural God powers, real shit, bruh. Your ancestral You know, you understand how we understood the universe and mapped the stars and all this stuff. Made astrology to be some dark, demonic, pseudo weirdo. Really, it's a part of our culture. All this stuff, and they use all of this stuff in secrecy. These elite
Hold on, Vic.
demonic people use it.
Hold on, brother Vic. I know Dwayne was
Hide it from you.
Dwayne was getting to a point right there, something pivotal he was saying at the moment before you interjected, but I appreciate what you said. You were saying something about religion.
No, so the point I was about to make is, when you read the Bible, Jesus actually tells his disciples to go out and make converts among the other nations. But he tells them, if you encounter people who don't agree with your message, to depart from those individuals. And again, if you read the Quran actually says there's supposed to be no compulsion in religion. So part of the problem that's happening is, there's certain people on the continent who are actually taking these religions and taking these books and using it to manipulate it in a way that's, abusing our people. And unfortunately, it's the same thing with even a lot of indigenous traditional African spiritual practices. I mentioned Togo earlier. One of the things that the government in Togo does is it uses religious leaders to promote its dictatorship, and not just, Christian religious leaders, not just Islamic religious leaders. It's using voodoo priests as well to, do what it's doing. So, think about the religious problems in Africa, a big part of that problem is a lot of these practices are being manipulated and exploited to do things they're being corrupted. So, and we're seeing that not just, like I said, not just with Christianity and with Islam, but even with these traditional African practices as well. So a lot of these conflicts really just comes from the fact that people are practicing religions, practicing spiritual belief systems that they know nothing about, because the people who are manipulating them, using these systems to manipulate them, don't want them to actually know what they're about and what it is that they're actually practicing.
Exactly. And that comes down to one word: integrity. These politicians and individuals, not only politicians, individuals are easily bought. And this is why I have a problem with people that kick that too much that religious stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not bashing it, but when you're constantly repeating and not allowing people to go out there and research for themselves to find the truth, that's another form of imprisonment. So let's jump directly into this. Being that we touched on that. Number 8. Is it possible for us to forge a new form of spirituality, religion, which highlights unity rather than division, to break down the obstacles white supremacy has deeply rooted into our current religious practices?
Come on, y'all.
Spirit means to breathe. Spirit, the root word of spirituality, spiritus, means to breathe. Until the original people start breathing from their higher self, from their energy and their aura and their real, because your emotions and thoughts aren't inside of your body. When you feel that, it's just a response to what's happening to your energetic field, your aura. So we have to start some real serious work on ourselves, man. Spiritual surgery. We need a form of spiritual surgery immediately and expediently. I'm going to say that. I had spiritual surgery and it worked. It may sound how it sounds, but I'm telling you, if you want to get the best results and the fastest, get the shit done, a lot of it is it's just weight, it's energy. If we could get past the fear and the bullshit, the false ideas and concepts, man, what is happening now already? Young people are already on it. All this stuff is already happening. But what I add to the cipher is that there's things we can do to expedite it, man. And the attack is not these people you're talking about. They're doing energy work on you, man. They're master manipulators of your energy field. It's the shit that Yakub wasn't mentioned in 120. They didn't mention in that wisdom builder degree. They got motherfuckers that can do you in with thought forms, and they're attacking your energy and your aura, man. That's what they're attacking. Black people's energy and aura. Go do the knowledge to it. It's not something that we can take lightly. And that's interfering with all the things that the divine order is trying to give us, man. All this supreme intelligence and all this stuff we absorb through our melanin from the divine order. But they're attacking our energy, man. That part of us. So we got to take that part serious too.
All right, now you said so the question reads, is it possible for us to forge a new form of spirituality /
That's the new form of spirituality, your natural state, your natural self.
Hold on, y'all. Go ahead. Let him finish.
Go ahead, Mac.
Well, I think if we look close enough, okay, at what we're all doing, what we all doing, not necessarily what religion that we belong to. If we look close enough at what we all doing, all of us, we'll just take us. We'll find a common denominator within, our way of life. When I say our way of life, I'm not talking about necessarily your particular culture. I'm talking about your particular spiritual culture. We'll be able to say, yeah, that's right and exact. That's right and exact. That's right and exact. And if we move the religious stuff, the rituals and stuff to the side, we'll be like, yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. I agree. And I think that's what people are coming to today. And people have come to the realization that these things, these false religions have divided us and put false walls in between us. And we're looking at the essence of who we are. And I'm able to see myself in all of y'all. Serious. And we live in all different places, with the exception of me and Vic. But I'm able to see myself in all of y'all. And I think that's what it comes down to, moving the superficial stuff to the side. So, just saying.
Yeah.
Nothing can stop that for us.
All right, now
I would say to that question though, I don't think we need to forge a new spirituality or a new religion necessarily. What I would say is whatever it is you're practicing, whatever it is that you connect to, master that. And I think that that's the problem I was speaking to before, that religions and spiritual systems that we don't know anything about, that we haven't mastered. So I don't think we need to form a new one, just master what it is that you have.
Yeah, and respect to one another.
I agree with that.
The key thing is respect, because you could be Christian, Muslim, whatever you choose to be. I respect you as long as you are a righteous human being.
That's why
I'm not going to bash you. I'm not going to debate your religion.
That's why I made the point that when you going back to Christianity and Islam, when you actually master what those religions are about, and you read the text and you master those texts, there shouldn't be any conflict. The texts themselves tell you there shouldn't be conflict. If you're a Muslim and your Quran is telling you there's no compulsion in religion, why would you want to go create a conflict with somebody and try to impose your religion on that individual? That's what I'm saying. Master those religions, actually study the religions and study what it is that you profess to believe and practice it.
Well, I mean, if I approach you as just based upon that, what religion you are, and if you approach me based upon that, based upon what religion you think I am or what religious background, sometimes it could be some barriers in the way. So I'm going to always respect that man's religion, his culture and whatnot, and where he come from. But at the same time, I want to approach him just as a man and as a mind, or her as a person and as a mind. You know what I mean? And then I think we might get a little further, because sometimes maybe the experience I've had with Christianity will not be the same experience that I have with a particular Christian. You know what I mean? But then that person could show me through expression a better part of Christianity than what I've already seen. That's all that I'm saying. I'm not saying do away with it or nothing, or because there's some beautiful parts of all these religions. However, I judge the religion based upon its principles, not based upon its converts. You know what I mean? Because a person might be misrepresenting, but that don't make the religion bad. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's still valuable to me, But at the same time, the religion might be doing some kind of something, you know what I mean? But then this person over here that's in it might be all to the good. And I'd be like, well, that's my brother, I don't like what his church is doing, but that's my brother over there, I don't like what they mosque is doing, how they moving, but that's still my brother over there. And, I think we'll get a better equality out of that,
All right. Yeah. Now I want to ask, can you give me, so question 9, can you give us some practical examples of cross-cultural continental unity? That's one. Can you give us examples of nations which are welcoming to foundational Black Americans within continental Africa?
Beautiful.
I'm definitely looking for those things. I've seen some that they'll welcome us as tourists, but I haven't really seen ones that have really made a way for us to be able to come and stay and be able to thrive and whatnot. I haven't seen that, but my vision is limited. Maybe someone else has seen that, because we're definitely looking to come over and add on.
Something interesting going on, Lord. Me and my wife, We travel the world, man, and so sometimes I watch these videos on YouTube on good places for Black people, countries that are friendly to Black people. Check that out. Tap that in. Tap into that on YouTube. And man, I must say that I used to have that attitude, even on the continent. There's some countries over there that welcome you, man. Want you to come and add on and welcome us with open arms. And there's a lot of powerful Black communities of people like us that wanted to move and travel and become more internationally involved and diplomatic. And I got a lot of insight from a lot of Black people, man, that live in some places that we wouldn't even expect that Black people would be in this day and age. The here and the now is what I'm talking about. What's really going on. So it's both ways. It's some funny style stuff too, but we're the wisest people on the planet, man. We got the highest technology, highest IQ, and probably the richest group of people in the world, right? Collectively in America. So we got the juice. I had Africans tell me, they say, man, if you go to such and such country, man, they'll love you from the United States and you a G. And I was like, oh, shit. Africans up in Europe. Yeah, man, it's different for the Black man in certain countries than here. You can go certain places and have your way. I know, bro. Trying to tell you, it ain't as bad as the continent. You got to contend with niggas. It's nigga thing. It's other nigga shit. But I'm not just speaking about Africa. I haven't seen it in Africa. If we just want to deal with the continent, I don't think we were there yet. We're moving that. We're going in the right direction. As long as we go in the right direction, it's slow. It's going to speed up, but we're not there yet. But other places that welcome us, and Black folks are thriving. And real talk, G.
All right, now, Mike, you want to go with the last question?
Most definitely. Hold on. Which is 10. All right, let's go. Discuss delineation, how African tribal families become xenophobic due to invaders as a protection method. By the same token, FBA have experienced the same experience and have a result define and redefine our tribe.
Well, this. If we look at, we can go all the way back to the Ptolemies, okay, who were the Roman generals who came in and invaded. Some of the first and real invaders of Africa, and how they wanted to change up the color, they wanted to capture the trade routes, and just change up the culture and kind of move into that part of the continent. You see what I'm saying? As a result of that, so much invasion happened, particularly people that are on the borders near the water. They became like garrisons, and they became very xenophobic on certain levels. And that's why you saw the tribes kind of go like this with each other and kind of be wary of other tribes, because sometimes this tribe will be armed against this tribe. And this tribe has made an agreement with the devil to get some guns and some barrels of alcohol to attack this tribe. So as a result, the xenophobia really became intensified within the continent. It shouldn't be fear of strangers because they look just like you, but maybe they don't think like you, and you don't know what type of deal they'd have made. This happened so much, it created kind of the tribalism that we see on the continent. Okay. By the same token, Black people in America have run into the same thing. And not only was it other Black people like us that was coming against us, but it was white people as well coming against us, not just trying to take from us and kill us and whatnot, but to take our culture, break us down, and re-enslave us. So we had the same kind of xenophobic thing going on as well. So we understand how people have their ethnicities and their different tribes. We get that. That's very understandable. However, we're at a point now where Black people in America are saying, okay, well, this is our tribe. Okay, y'all have this tribe and you represent that tribe. FBA is saying this is our tribe and this is our experience. We're not knocking nobody else's experience, nobody else's tribe. We're just saying this is how we eat and this is how we've done it for maybe good 400, 500, 600 years now. You know what I mean? So if other people are allowed to have their tribe and their ethnicity and their lineage, aren't we allowed to have our tribe? And, not saying we don't want to sit at the table with our brothers, but we deserve to be able to have our lineage as well, just as like, just like everybody does.
That's real talk, Lord. We do have a lineage that's very unique, man, because we came from all over and were brought here to the wilderness of North America. So we probably have the strongest, most highest IQ, biochemical. We dominate the world in sports, mental, physical, and spiritual. It's the reason why this country is so powerful and considered the world power, because of us.
No question about that.
I gotta say it, man. I'm not.
Black culture
I know
from
people
America.
gonna play, but nobody's thorougher than this than the black man in the wilderness of North America, because nobody know the devil better than us. No, sir.
Yeah, that's a real important part there. But if you subtract black culture from America, you ain't even got no gristle on that bone. The damn sure ain't no meat on that bone. There's nothing left. Nobody would want to even be here. Nobody would want to even associate with this if we had not given what we gave. And now, when you go within with culture, right, because they won't let you outwardly practice it, it becomes spirituality. You see what I'm saying? When you go inward with culture and you practice on the inside, you thinking about it, you meditating on it, because you can't go outward because it's outlawed. It becomes spirituality. So we're really seriously marinated into the people that we've become in New York and New Jersey and Philly and Miami and Texas and Alabama and Atlanta. That shit is really, and then we were, our phenotype was quarantined to where we couldn't mix with nobody but black. So this is like really multiplied and marinated, man. This culture that we're talking about here. And I think it's going to help us to be able to go abroad and take many of these talents that we have to other places if more people respect what people are now popularly calling FBA culture, man. Because we have a lot to give. We have a lot of mechanics, scientists, artists, teachers, very highly skilled people. But we don't want to go somewhere and have somebody who doesn't knowledge our culture and respect our culture. And I'm sure they feel the same way.
Well, the way we're depicted through media influences the world and gives them a wrong image. I would say the wrong image.
Indeed.
And that's I would say one of the biggest issues, because now especially like when I talk to different people and I have discussions with different races, if you will, right? Whether it be white, European, or even our people, African people, right? Especially those who are from the continent. Sometimes they like a good majority will put us in that boat, like that hip hop boat. Like 50 Cent, you know what I mean? Like 50 Cent, like rappers, like
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Michael Jordan.
Right.
You know what I mean? Oh yeah, slavery.
Try to shrink us down.
Right. You know why, Brother
the
Ron?
Lowest common denominator, right?
Not to cut you off. That depiction is played on both ends, because they will depict the hip hop thug off the street, delinquent to society, and they'll do the same thing from the continent of the Caribbean as poor, decrepit, slavery, imbecile.
Yeah.
So you got to understand, as Professor Griff said, not to sound conspiracy theory, like with the media, maniac European devils in action. You understand?
I like that.
Man, you gotta salute a motherfucker that's gonna keep it real with you. So this is what I'm gonna say real quick, and then I'm gonna be done with it. You gotta salute this motherfucker, respect him, man. He telling you how he doing, showing you how he doing it, and the only way he effective with it is because you won't work together. Again, fixes the problem is unity, man. It's something we can fix. Working together. Sometimes you got to sit down and don't leave until you resolve it. But you have to be brothers and diplomatic and want a solution, a resolution. Bring some energy and ideals and some arts and skills along with you.
Indeed. Salute. Well, thank y'all for coming out this evening. I really appreciate you. We're coming back with the Black Roundtable next week again, back to back.
That's a fact.
I would definitely like to hear more from the brother Dwayne. I see brother Dwayne as someone with a whole different view and experience because he's from a different generation. You know, so he's he's that younger generation. So I would like
Van Sertima. That's the
So-
new Ivan Van Sertima right there.
so, so I
Yeah,
would
he
like,
like that. No, he like
Right.
that.
There you go. Yeah, that I agree with that. He's definitely like a Van Sertima. Yep.
Yeah.
Young Van Sertima.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Beautiful, man.
thank y'all
Mhm.
for coming out this evening. Really appreciate y'all. And we'll be back on the podcast Sunday, but I'm playing like a rerun or a flashback Friday. It's something that y'all never saw before. All right.
All right, Lord. Peace and blessings, brothers.
Something that y'all saw before or not. You're new to if you're new to the platform, you didn't see. Peace, everybody, and we are out of here.
We're out. Peace.